I'm just gonna go into real estate. I'm like, I have this license. I don't see myself ever making the kind of money I want to make in my current job, and I'm gonna go all in.
But like, what is your impression of where the American real estate brokerage is headed?
What I want, it's what I think most agents want, and I think we're starting to see the compression in these models, and hopefully a model that truly cares about the agent and the client is the one that ends up actually owning the show, or at least running the show.
I think, not only what you're talking about with the supporting of the agent, which I completely agree with, but also just that, like, running the consumer towards your business.
And yes, I know people build brokerages to sell them. I'm not selling my team. I'm good. I have no interest in it. This is mine. It's for my agents. It's for us. Like, we built this. It's not going anywhere.
You're listening to Make Your Own Key. I started this podcast to have authentic conversations with agents and cover the hot topics about the real estate industry and how to build profitable real estate business and teams. There's so much fluff and ego surrounding this business, and it's tough to know what's true and what's not. We're going to talk about what it really takes to make it in real estate, the truth about teams and brokerages, and how to position yourself for the next 5 years in this business. After all, your brokerage isn't going to save you. Success in real estate is up to you. I'm Seth Lejeune. Thanks for listening. Find us on Instagram at Make Your Own Key. Let's go.
All right. Well, thanks for hopping on with me today. You are one of the people that I absolutely wanted to get on because you are recently over to Real. And actually, this company's growing so fast, you're actually not even that recent, because I know a lot of people have come over since. But how long have you been with the company?
We're coming up on 7 months now. My team moved over August 1st of 25, and the rest of our brokerage moved over January 1st of 26. So the brokerage, 4 months, my team, 7 or 8 months. And yeah, pretty new, but all in.
Yeah, all in. Oh, that's a common theme. So, well, like, we just have people come on, just tell us about their origin story. Just take us back. Talk to us about how you got in, where you were, how you grew, and you've got a pretty massive real estate team. So I want to hear about that a little bit too.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So I mean, if we want to, I don't know how far back we want to go, but I didn't start here. I actually grew up in the Caribbean. I moved here when I was 15 from a country called Trinidad, and so I didn't have a huge network of people here. Just moved with my immediate family, and we started in Delaware County. I went to Roaster Media to finish up my high schooling. Got into banking a little bit, but didn't really enjoy it. Was just doing jobs to do jobs. I was always a hard worker. I just didn't know what I do when I grew up, what I wanted to do when I grew up, and I think we're all feeling that way. I think I told my wife a few days ago, I'm starting to figure out who I want to be when I grow up, so, I'm figuring it out. But back then, you're 25, 26. I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, of course, like most people do. And being not much of a reader, it was a good, simple read for someone like myself. And but it was so straightforward. It's like, you got to do something else. You can't do the 9 to 5, or it's going to be 4% raises when they feel like it for the rest of your life. And if they sell or consolidate or whatever, you're burdened by that. And I just didn't have that in me for the rest of my life. So around that age, I just bought my first house, 2012, liked the process, decided to get my real estate license. I'm like, I'm going to be a real estate investor, right? The problem with that is, making 50, 60K a year and paying a mortgage, which was doable at that time, is not anymore. Just wasn't realistic. And I said to my wife, I don't know. I mean, so I did part-time for a couple of years, sold a couple of homes to some friends, didn't have money to invest in real estate like I thought I would, because who does? And decided in 2015, after, some changes in the company I was working for, I'm just going to go into real estate. I'm like, I have this license. I don't see myself ever making the kind of money I want to make in my current job. And I'm going to go all in. So it's not that tough of a conversation. I just told my wife what I'm going to do. At the time, she was my fiance. She said, we have a wedding in a year. And I'm like, I do know that. But,
I have
you
that on my
know,
calendar.
yeah, yeah, I know, I paid the deposit. But I was like, we'll pay for it. We'll figure it out. I'll get there. I promise. And I'm not gonna lie, that first 6 months was rough. I left my job end of May 2015. And by the end of 2015, I was like, I need to drive Uber or something. I need other forms of income because I'm literally doing everything. And back then, podcasts weren't huge. It was mostly YouTube. So, I'm
Mhm.
on YouTube watching, I'm calling expires, I'm calling for sale by owners, I'm door knocking, I'm, getting online leads. I'm doing everything. I'm like trying to, figure it all out as one person. And I sold 5 or 6 homes that first 6 months, which was not enough money to pay my bills. I cashed out my 401k from my prior job to just keep the lights on. But I started to get pretty desperate. I said to my wife, I'm like, I think I'm gonna have to get a second job. And in her somehow infinite business wisdom, which she's a teacher, I don't know where it comes from, but she said, if you do that, you're not gonna focus on this. I know how you are. And I said, okay,
Hold
you're
my
right.
beer.
Yeah, you're right. So she was right. I would not. I would have been split. And I think a lot of us that are entrepreneurial, we have that like shiny object syndrome where
Totally.
we see the upside in everything, and we're like, let's go chase this, right?
It's
Um,
what makes us great, but it also is very hard to see past it sometimes. So,
for sure, for sure. So then I'm glad I didn't because 2016, which was my first full calendar year, I sold 36 homes, 35 of which were buyers and one seller.
wow. Yeah,
And
it's a long time.
when I hear agents or my agents complain, I'm like, you have nothing to complain about. You have no idea, and your price point's way higher than mine when I started, because
That's
at
right.
28 years old, my friends really couldn't afford much like me. I only knew the people I knew, right?
No, but also just the price of houses in general. I mean,
Yeah,
when you're in commission sales, you always get like a 2-3% bump in pay just by the march of inflation. So,
yeah,
uh, yeah.
yeah.
So,
And that's, my average price point my first year was
oh
$147,000.
my God, God bless you. Good
So
God.
I sold 36 homes to make 120 grand, which was twice of what I made the year before. I
Hmm.
was ecstatic. I was on a cloud nine. I didn't care if I was working 18 hours a day. That is a lot of money. It's still a lot of money. And I didn't care what I had to do it, man. As long as I was being right to my clients, I was building a good reputation, I was working hard. I didn't care, right? So then 2017, uh, 40 sales, 2018, 45 sales. And I started to invest in real estate along the way because I had the money now to invest. That was nice. But I had a kind of this growth, it was growth, but it wasn't really growth, like 36 to 40 to 45. It's good, but I kept feeling like I couldn't do any more. Like I'm one person. There's 24 hours in a day, and I have to sleep. Not a lot, but I do have to sleep. Luckily, I didn't have kids at that point because I don't know how I would have pulled it off. And 2019, I decided, you know what, I'm gonna hire an assistant. I know it's gonna cost money, and I have a salary and someone to depend on me now. That's not something I ever had in my life. I never owned a business. So I made the leap. I hired an assistant. And guess what? That first 2019, I went from 45 sales to 70 sales. And then, so it paid for itself like significantly. And Matt, who was my first assistant, was awesome. We are still friends today. I mean, he's a family member, and um, he helped me build out a lot of the things we got started with. And then 2020, similar results, 70 sales or so. But again, I started to feel like there's only so much I can do. And I had my first kid in 2019, and not being home, 18 hours a day, just grinding. I was starting to be like, well, what's next? And obviously 2020 COVID happened. So the market was insane. And my wife decided to stay home. So I had even more pressure to, make the income, right? Late 2020, I had a past client, great past client, Kim, reach out to me and she's like, "Hey, well, I'm thinking about getting my real estate license and I want to join your team." And I said, "Well, I don't have a team." um, and she's like, "Well, can we?"
I'm
And I'm
here.
like, "Yeah." I'm like, "I guess, sure." Um, and then like a week later, another past client, Kirk, reached out, and then that's how it started. It wasn't intentional. It was late 2020. I never planned on doing the team thing. I just had a past clients reaching out. So really the team started the beginning of 21 because that's when they both started to produce. Throughout that year, two other past clients, even an agent who was a past client reached out. He's like, "I want to join your team, Dom and Tim." And um, that's been it, man. It's just been age people reaching out who either worked with me before or are seeing what we're doing or know someone on the team and they want to perform and they see the agents on our team perform, and they don't understand when we're in an industry where 70% of the agents didn't sell a home last year, right?
Yeah.
And 86% sold four or less homes last year, which if your average price point's $1 million, great. If your average price point's the normal house in America, which is $400,000, 1.6 in production, your GCI is probably not over 40K a year. It's not worth the work you're putting into it,
You can't live
right?
on it either.
No, you can't. And I tell people this all the time. I'm like, you'll make better money working at Walmart for 40 hours a week than you will being an agent doing less than $3 million a year in business and
Yep.
real estate. And it's not worth it. I mean, the amount of stuff you deal with from like you're self-employed, you got to have your own insurance. There's no 401k. There's 18-hour days. You're basically a therapist, a
Marriage
financial
counselor.
advisor. You're everything, right?
Yeah.
And it's heavy. So unless you're planning on doing this at a true level that can get you to be a full-time real estate agent, then there's other things you can do with your life.
Yep.
Um, and that's always been our mentality. Is anyone that joins the team, I want it, even if you're part-time when you start, my goal and the goal I set for you, if you want it, is that you have to eventually become a full-time agent, right? Um, and by eventually, I mean 6 months to a year. Like I don't expect you to hang out forever until that happens. And that's been the case with us. We've had a 94% retention rate. The four people that have left actually just left the industry. One moved like back to Scranton area. So we're our agents are staying because they realize I'm adding new things every year. Every year, I'm adding new systems, new processes, and building this out. So it just keeps getting better and better and better for them. And they see it. They see it on their, in their wallets. They see it in their production, and they see the work we're putting in. And now our team is we're onboarding four agents right now, so we'll be at 34 agents in the next 2 weeks. We have 13 back-end support staff, 8 virtual, and 5 state bound here. And then I'm the team leader. I'm the coach. I'm still in production. I really have no interest in getting out of production. I like what I do, and it's not really a burden for me because we have really good systems and processes that make it fairly easy for me to navigate all of that. And we're just in growth mode, man. We've built the foundation. I told the team the last 5 years was building the foundation, and a part of that was leaving Remax and moving to Real because the Remax model was cost prohibitive to me joining it, building a team, and also, they were and they're antiquated, they're dated. It's tough to do anything in a company that's not really evolving.
Mhm.
So, an example was I had to be with two different brokers in Pennsylvania and Delaware, which required two different back end setups, two different CRMs. It's like you can't scale a business if you're tied to these old rules. And we're PA, Delaware, and New Jersey, mostly Pennsylvania, but we do Northern Delaware. I have an agent in Southern Delaware now, and we do parts of New Jersey. So I want to be able to expand without restrictions. And I want my agents to be able to operate at the highest possible level without restrictions. And that's what Real's given us. They have their rules, they have their guidelines, but for the most part, I feel like they are the company that has the most entrepreneurial spirit in terms of allowing agents, team leaders to operate like a broker owner, to operate like a team leader with your business and still be a part of theirs and take all that risk of the broker owner part off your shoulders.
Yeah, I think that Real, simply put, is the company that just gets out of the way of the entrepreneurial agent the most. They're all about like, yeah, let's figure that out. Not
Yeah.
like, well, we have a policy here and we need to talk about it. It's like, no, it's like, you know what, we'll figure that out. I mean, there's limits to everything. I mean, we want to be in compliance and legal, but the thing that I love about this company is it doesn't say no. Like
Mhm.
it says, it says, well, that's interesting. Let's try to figure that out. And that comes down to like the marketing and the setup. And like you were talking about the brokerage licenses, like our broker, I guess she would be our managing broker for the state. She's licensed in Florida too. And so she can do business down there and do business here. And it all goes towards the same cap. So they don't double dip. Um, and there's a lot of companies that, that aren't that way. So what, talk to me a little bit about so you were at a Remax. Talk to me. Before we hopped on, I was saying that I was excited to interview you because you're like a higher level thinker and you've certainly gotten into good rooms, um, with your mentors and all that stuff. But like, what is your impression of where the American real estate brokerage is headed in the
I
future?
think there's a few major things happening. And there's industry compression, which we've been seeing. Everything kind of blew up during COVID and it just started to shrink back down. And the companies that were give them their credit saw this happening in 22 and 23, started making changes to increase their market share versus all of the other companies that were just like, we're going to operate at the norm and things are going to be what they're going to be. And it's just a cycle. But they didn't plan for AI and tech to play such a big part in what they're building and what they've built. So, I don't want to, obviously, I have my opinions about different brokerages, but brokerages that are allowing agents to operate, like we said, like truly like an independent, like an operator on their own. They don't tie you to a contract. They don't have splits without caps. They give you back portions of ownerships of the company. They're, sharing with you the profit they're actually making as a company, and not spending it on big expensive buildings and, corporate heads that need to get their bonuses and all of the stuff. They're actually focusing on the agent because for brokerages, agents are the clients. And for agents, our buyers and sellers are the clients, right? So the brokerage should be taking care of the agent. And
Mhm.
taking care of an agent means ensuring they can make enough money to live off of without you taking more the more they make. Because you, myself, most people listening to this know if you're a good agent, you're going to be successful in any brokerage, right?
Yeah.
That's the reality. Like, I
Yeah.
don't, I would, you or I would have succeeded in any brokerage. The goal of the brokerage is to stay out of your way while it's protecting you. And
Hmm.
being up in your way is taking too much, right? And all of these other brokerages have found this like middle ground where they understand they need to take somewhere between 16 and 24K a year in some version from their agents. And if they have 300 agents in the building, they're good, right? Everybody's making money. They have their ancillary services, they have their title, their insurance, their mortgage, but they're not partnering with their agents on those things, right? Um, with Real, they found that we don't need all of this. So we just need to give the agents the opportunity to earn, and they'll build it, right?
Hmm.
They let us do our own thing. We have our own title company. They let us do things that a lot of brokerages won't let you do. So to me, that's the important part. Now, the industry is compressing, and I don't want to say it's good versus bad, but I will say this: I've always felt this way. You can hear recordings of me saying this back to the beginning of my career. I don't think real estate agents should be wholesalers. I don't. Um, I think it's anti what our consumer notice says, what our fiduciary obligation to our
I
agent
agree.
says. I think it's kind of crazy that they're making wholesalers get real estate licenses now. Like, how does that make sense? I know they're not signing a consumer notice with a client, but at the same time, it's my job to do what's in my client's best interest, not to steal their equity, right? And I see this kind of off market push in that same lane.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't know of one person I would say to, including myself, that it makes more sense to list your house off market so that 15% of the viewers can see it versus putting it on the market where hundreds of millions of people can view it. What is more likely to get you more money? And there's studies coming out now to show that. So I look at these companies that are pushing that narrative, and I think they don't care about the consumer or the agent.
Yeah.
They care about the stockholder,
Yeah.
right? And to me, that's a blatant sign that there's two ways to go with this. You stay in that lane and you be a cog in that wheel, and you keep giving them a cut of everything you make, and you keep, you play that game, or you operate what's in the with a company that's in the best interest of your clients. And that to me is what I want. It's what I think most agents want, and I think we're starting to see the compression in these models, and hopefully a model that truly cares about the agent and the client is the one that ends up actually owning the show, or at least running the show.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right, and I think there's a precursor, and I don't think there's enough people talking about this, but there are certain companies, yeah, that are doing these private listings where they're saying, well, no, we're going to double side it, and then of course you have a listing and you get the buy side, so you get the title and the mortgage and all that. I'm not entirely sure that's not going to get them legally entangled. I mean, for me, I'm looking at we're always told that we need to give everyone options and all this. And it's like, but you got all these agents having all these conversations. I mean, some of these agents are going to trip up. Also, I just don't think it's like, I don't, first of all, you sell anything on this planet, you're selling it to 15% of the market. You're not going to get as much as, and I don't need a study. I mean, this is just like common economics. This is
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah, yeah.
And so, but we see a big thing with Zillow and how they, through their program, they're like kind of pushing some of their ancillary service. I don't want to say pushing, but they give scripts to their agents to say, hey, listen, I think not only what you're talking about with the supporting of the agent, which I completely agree with, but also just that, like, running the consumer towards your business is antithetical and actually illegal in our business. And I think that they are really straddling a line. And I think there's enough good agents at all these companies that they realize, like, I don't think that this is legal. I don't think this is like, I don't want to put my license at risk.
Well, I think they're smart and they're having people sign disclosures, or disclaimers like, yeah, we knew what we were getting into. And, they're not really reading into these people, but that's happening. And I think, uh, I used to be a broker owner, so I think of the risk factor of everything, right? You have to refer three sources: three inspectors, three mortgage officers, three insurance companies. It's actually in our timeline that goes out to our clients. I am not pigeonholing anyone into using any one company. I'll give you three options that I've seen over the years be reliable.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want to use one of them, it's on you. But I agree, you have to be RESPA compliant. Now, that kind of makes sense to me why they're disrupting the industry this much, right? If there's no NAR, right?
Mm-hmm.
If there's no MLSs to enforce it, and it becomes this wild, wild west where consumers have the choice, then the company that has the most market share will make the rules, right? And that's where this is going. And so if we don't want it to be like that, if we do like the fact that the rules are in place because they are what's in the best interest of our consumer, they are what's in the best interest of us as well, uh, don't be fooled by what you're being told, right? Like, what you're being told is very different than what's actually happening. And that's, look, in every industry, that's going to happen. And this is the free market economy. So, like, they're allowed to do what they want to do. But I'm in this job because I love this job. I love what I do. I love selling real estate. I'd say this to my agents all the time. I don't plan on getting out of production. I'm not building a team because I don't want to be producing anymore. I'm building a team that can operate whilst I continue to coach and grow massive agents. And in the meantime, still work with my friends and family.
Yeah.
Right. And like that, to me, it would feel awkward saying to one of my great past clients that referred me 10 people, hey, I don't do this anymore, I'm going to hand you over to Jim. Like, no, I want to work with them. Like, they're my friends now.
Yeah.
So And that's the business we teach agents to build. It doesn't matter where you get the business from in the beginning, as long as you're getting the business. But in the end goal should be to build a sphere that's all you need to rely on.
Yeah.
And somewhere 7, 8 years into my business, that's where I got to, where I built up this sphere of people that the majority of them came to me after I got into real estate, not before,
Hmm.
right? I have a very limited amount of people I knew prior to real estate, and I had to build my sphere from the people I worked with and earn that trust and build and show them that I care. And year over year, they referred me business because I took care of them over and over and over again. And now I'm to the point where I only work my sphere,
Yeah.
right? That's the business I'm helping agents build. And that's the business agents need to build is that in the beginning, take the leads from wherever you can get them,
Yeah.
like do what I did. Knock on doors, expires, FISBOs, online leads. Like I did everything because why not? Like don't you want this to work? Right? You
Yeah.
sit at home and expect it to. I would say to our agents, if you're slow, if you're newer, what's the harm in putting an open house on one of our vacant listings every day of the week and sitting there and working from there?
That's
Right?
why I tell agents all the time. I say, you got no business. Go. Just make an open house. Make a house your office.
Yeah. And I have a chair and a fold out table in my car. And that's what I did for years. And it literally, because where am I better to get business? Sitting in my home, in my basement, or in my office, or
Out in the
sitting
marketplace.
somewhere where there's a sign pointing people online on all of these websites, not hidden to just one portion of the industry,
That's
but
right.
all of these websites saying, hey, go, there's somebody there that's a realtor. Go talk to them. Right. So that's the focus we have as a team is getting agents to that point where their business is now internal. They've created such a strong sphere that they can do that by taking care of their clients. That's our growth path for agents on our team. And that's what we plan on continuing doing, man. I mean, our business is still 50% sphere driven, even though we have like 13 lead sources.
I was going to
So
say you got a ton of like cold lead sources, but then you've built this like big bonfire of will holder sphere. And and there's agents now been on your team for years, so now they've got sphere, and not all of them are from Trinidad. So they bring
yeah,
their book too. I did the opposite. I was frankly terrified of cold calling. I didn't want to do it, but I grew up here. I have a family business. I've got kids. I had kids. So I had parents of kids and like all this stuff. So I had a lot to pull on, but I had to. I mean, my first 2 years, it wasn't great. I mean, it was not great. And then my third year at Berkshire Hathaway in 2018, it was like my mentor. I just kept coming with deals, and she's just like, what are you doing over there? I'm like, I don't know. I'm just people keep calling me, and I'm answering the phone. And she's like, well, just keep doing it. And I never look back, right? So, because I always just wanted to work with people that I think we're both the same way. We just want to help people, and we don't little bit of like fear of delegation with like some of those great relationships we have too. Like we want to make sure it's like everything's buttoned up and tightened up. Um, but something you mentioned, let's talk about real estate teams for a second, because something you mentioned the other day that I thought was interesting is that there's really only two models of a real estate team. And I've got this big thing about the MREA book, the the $1 million real estate agent, Keller Williams and Fusen. I I have nothing but respect for Keller Williams because they really brought teams online with that book and everything like that. But God, has it taken so many agents down some very, very bumpy roads through the growth process.
mhm,
And talk to me a little bit about what you said though, because I thought it was a good point. And I think it's good because you and I we both have one of the two models. So we could talk about that for a
right.
second.
So I think just like anything, we're seeing the middle class disappear, right? It's happening in America economy. It's also happening in the real estate economy with these companies merging, right? You're going to be one or the other, right? The middle won't exist for super long, and it always gets squeezed. The middle is always what gets squeezed. In teams, and this is a generalization. It's not. I'm sure there are one-off or different teams that might work in the middle. But for the most part, what I've seen from the honest team leaders I've spoken to and from everyone that I've known and what I've experienced as well is there's really two models that work. There's the rock star model, which is something similar to yours, my partners Brett and Scott Furman do, where it's them, it's their show. They're still producing. They're producing at a high level. They have a high average price point like you. They are attacking a certain market, and they have maybe one or two agents on the team. Maybe they're showing agents. Maybe they're actually doing both sides, and they have an assistant and a half, right? That model works because your profit margin is massive, right? Your overhead is very low. You're not supporting a ton of agents. You don't need a ton of staff. You're just operating at a really high level. And your margin is so great that you can accelerate your future plans, right? Which could be investing in real estate, whatever that is, whatever your end goal is, can be accelerated by having a large profit margin. So that's the rock star or powerhouse team model. Then you get agents that start to build, and once they get past 4 agents, I think most teams between 4 and probably 20 agents aren't profitable because, and I experienced this myself, and I told everyone, and I show all my agents our numbers. From 4 to 20, you're hiring people to keep up with the demand, right? You need transaction coordinators, you need a listing coordinator, you need a marketing person. You are yourself as the team lead. If you were the rock star, you're using a lot of your commission to fund or offset what that team isn't making to cover the overhead until it catches up, right? And that's, in business, is called the J curve. You're in that bottom of the J curve and you're waiting to get out. But if you don't really have a plan and you don't have someone teaching you or coaching you or telling you how to do this, most teams die in the J curve. They never get out, right? And they blow it up. They're like, forget it. This is crazy. I'm doing all of this and I'm still using my commission. It happens. It happens. And I'd be lying if I said I didn't think about it a bunch of times, right? I've
Oh yeah,
joked with
everyone
my
does.
agents,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know? Some days I'd be joking if I didn't say, man, would it have been easier just to stay in my 9 to 5,
yeah,
right? But but that's the reality. We all think it.
yeah.
I had an agent on this team that at beginning of April he was at 2.5 million, and his goal was 20 million for the year, and he's like losing it. He's like, I can't believe how far behind I am. I shouldn't have left my job 2 years ago, even though I had a great job. He was feeling, he was emotional about the result of his hard work, and he was working hard. And I joked with him and I said, look, it's April 1st. If by the end of April you're not at 5 million, I'll slash your tires. Right. I know that sounds harsh. Him and I have that type of relationship, and
Yeah,
he has some pretty expensive tires. So, and he knows I would do it. So he said, really? And I was like, yeah. I'm like, I know you have more than this in you, and I'm going to hold you accountable for it. And we're at April 27th. He's at 11 million.
there you go.
Right. And it's like, you have to know how to coach and push people. The same goes for team building. If I was listening to a book about Arnold the other day, and back in Austria in the 60s, before they even had bodybuilding there, Arnold knew he needed a coach as a teenager, right? So if the most driven people need a coach or a team leader or someone to get them there, why aren't you doing it, right? And so to me, finding the right mentor, right coach, right person to emulate versions of your business behind and push you through to the finish line so you come out of that J curve is massive. And luckily, we're out of it now. We were in it for quite some time. But I don't think most teams are built, and they don't realize how much funding they need if you're not paying for it out of your own commission, which
Yep.
I was and most agents are, to get out of that curve.
Yeah.
Right. And I tell agents all the time, I'm like, why don't just you be the rock star you are? Like, do you think you really need all this? Do the math first before you. And most people don't want to be a leader. Like, most people don't want to do that. They want to operate. They're the rock star. They can't see themselves behind the scenes coordinating all these personalities and building all of these avenues of the business. It is an entirely different role
Well,
than just being a realtor.
something that you mentioned a couple of times on our podcast, and I mean, I've read a gazillion books, and you study any business where they try to promote salesperson, number one salesperson, to sales manager or CEO or COO or something like that. And a lot of times they're like, I just want to go back and play golf and sell. Like that's I don't want to do this anymore. And because there's an assumption, it's like, well, you're really good at sales, so now you need to be
Hmm.
elevated because that's what we all want to do because we're all teachers and all this nonsense. And then you're going to extol all this wisdom down these people, but it can be like getting cast to walk in a parade, man. I mean, it's like that is a totally different skill the same way that like when you're at a pharmaceutical company, like the number one engineer isn't supposed to run the entire department. You actually need like a leader. You need
Yeah.
somebody like a general who can like throw a helmet and a club in a guy's hand and be like, go over that hill. I have no idea what's over there, but kill what's over there. You know what I mean? Like you need somebody who can inspire people to take action. You obviously slash people's tires. That's one way to go about it.
This is one person, by the way. I would not use that motivation for everybody, but you got to know you got to know your people.
No, but it's so true. And I think, and the reason I bring up that the book is because it does not really talk about the struggles of leadership. It doesn't really talk about the high emotional intelligence you need, and the idea that like just because you're really good at sales and like leading your clients through a process like this and like project, because I've always looked at a real estate transaction as really like kind of project management. You gotta get from here to there. You got money coming in, money going out. It's like, and it's there's steps to it. There's sequencing. I came from the construction world, so it made a lot of sense. It was a natural progression. But I don't think that there are enough agents who think about that leap that they take to being like, okay, now you're going to not only produce, but then you're going to add this whole other thing where you're going to have to try to find you again because let's be honest, if it's not someone like us who are self starters, like I'm like coffee maker, click, laptop goes open in the morning. I'm like I'm up. Like I don't need to get motivated and meditate to get to work. Like that's just what I do. I don't know what else to do, right? But
Right.
you're trying to find all these people and you're trying to drag them and inspire them, and meanwhile you're just leaking money out of the whole thing. Where because I had the big team, I had like an 8-person team and I just lined them up in December of 23 and I let most of them go. And because I was like, I can't serve you. I can't do this like with this big of a group. So I consolidated it all and I never really went back. And I thought it was interesting what you said the other day because, and honestly, it made me feel good because I'm like, there's a lot of agents who sit there and say, well, I should have a bigger team and because, bigger is better and growth for growth's sake, but it's not. It's about being profitable and also serving the people who are under you the best you can instead of just being this like chaotic mess. And it sounds like you have kind of pushed through the fog
Yeah.
and and gone through where now you've got all this administrative support and so you can actually go and pour into your agents again instead of trying to run everything all at the same time.
Right. And I'll say this, like, I'm not this person today. I'm not the same person today that I was 5 years ago. Right. I had to learn how to become a leader. I had to learn how to coach. I had to learn how to train. I had to, the stuff that would bother me year one, it's just like, we got it, now. Or I just know how to deal with it better. And I think that comes with anything. Um, if you're not willing to put in a few years, sometimes more than a few years of being in that the bottom of the J curve of learning how to be a leader, going from look, if you were in a different job where you were like a manager or ran a business, and you came into real estate, the transition would be normal. But for most people don't come into real estate with that background. They come into real estate with all sorts of different random things but don't have leadership and management in that category or in that and they come in and they run a successful real estate business and then they think, okay, the next natural progression for me, it was the next natural progression was start a brokerage, start a
Yeah.
team, start a brokerage. Well, I realized I don't want to be a broker owner. Like I did that for three
Yeah.
years and I'm like, what? No way. This is not fun. It's not what I envisioned my life being. I like building a team and I
Mhm.
like running the team. And the other ancillary services are fun too, but the broker part of it, I want nothing to do with. right? And yes, I know people build brokerages to sell them. I'm not selling my team. I'm good. I
Yeah.
have no interest in it. This is mine. It's for my agents. It's for us. Like, we built this. It's not going anywhere. So I never got into this to think I'm building this business to sell it. It's just not how I think. And I'd be bored if I sold it. What am I going to do? Sit around at home?
It's so funny.
Like,
My buddy from high school or from college has built this fabulous business in Reading. He's gotten multiple 8 figures for this company, and he's my age. He's 46, and he's like, I could sell it, but then, like, what am I going to do? What, go build another one? He's like, I already built it. Like, what am I
yeah,
going to do with myself? So I think that
yeah,
that's fair when you get something that is actually, I mean, if you can even get a real estate team or real estate brokers to be viable, which is really hard. And,
yeah.
I always tell people, like, the brokerage was the natural progression back in the day, because that was really the only way that we had all conceived of how to actually make money, like, outside of our real estate business. But you don't have to
Hmm.
do that anymore. I talk to broker owners all the time. I'm like, why do you have this brokerage? Like,
Hmm.
usually it's about, I just want to be able to do the things that I want to do my way. Or they had a really bad experience in another agency, and they, like, they threw their hands up, and they were already an broker associate. And they were like, I'm just going to set up my own thing. But there's very little, like, value in people building, like, these boutiques or being, like, a broker owner of, like, anything anymore. Respectfully, I say that. But I
I
think that
think
that is a very old model from before that no longer really is applicable, because you can have a lot more flexibility, not as much responsibility, and make a lot more money by not doing that.
I think there's a caveat. I mean, I think teams and teamerages can be very successful, because there's a culture instilled, right? And I do think that uh, teams, a lot of teams are more profitable than most brokerages,
Oh yeah.
um, because the team leader is so intimately connected to what is happening with their operations and how they want it to run and how they're building it. Whereas a regular brokerage, you have 100 agents kind of willy nilly doing their own things. There's no accountability, and they know 10% are going to be pretty successful, 20 is going to be okay, the middle is going to do a few transactions, and 20% are going to leave the industry every year.
Yeah.
Like, that's real estate math for your standard brokerage, right? If you're building a scale model where you have 3, 4, 500 agents in some of these brokerages, it'll work, right? I don't want that as a team leader. I don't think a team ridge wants that. I think we know what we want, which is hard workers, work hard, be kind, right? Not to be corny, but and we want hard workers. We want people that are good people. We want people that emulate and put out what we're putting down to our clientele. And we know they're going to be more successful because their success is directly tied to ours,
Hmm.
right? For me, onboarding agents and takes time, it takes effort. And if I do all of that and I put out everything I'm putting into you over the weeks and months and years to come, and I can't make you successful, my success is directly tied to that. That's
Hmm.
money I chose to spend with you versus spending with my kids or with my other agents, right? So I know this has to work, or else what are we doing? Whereas with a lot of these brokerages that have like monthly fees, and they don't, and they're selling you training courses, like, they're making money. I don't care if you don't work out or not, right? Because they're always in that like turnover mode, right? Um, and I think that's how the successful teams and team mergers are thinking, and those are the ones that we see are doing more business year over year in a time where we're being told there's less real estate to sell than
They're
any other
scooping.
time, right?
They're
Like,
scooping
and they
market share.
yeah, and it's because of that culture, right?
Yeah.
So I think most agents should consider that if you're coming into the industry, why not go learn from a team that's really willing to share everything with you, because they're in a model like we are, in a downline model where they're not afraid of you leaving. Like, you're going to stay within the brokerage and they're going to
Yeah.
still pour into you,
Yeah.
right? And go learn what you want to build,
Yeah.
and learn it the fast way.
I think also the real aspect of the team, the real advantage for me as a team leader versus being a broker owner is flexibility. like I can just pick up my license and go. But if I'm a broker owner and I've got like an office and I got all this stuff and all this, I mean, yeah, sure, I could change the logo on my thing, but I just want to be able to, I just want flexibility. I mean, we're literally this morning, and we have to hop on this town hall, but it's like literally this morning, Real bought Remax. I mean, you want to talk about like, I mean, Compass bought Anywhere, which is like all Better Homes and Garden and Coldwell Banker and all this stuff. And it's like, if you are a broker owner somewhere, you are not nearly as mobile and like nimble in this market that's changing on a Monday morning.
Mhm.
You know, and so I look at it as like, unless you're going to promise me that there's like all this abundance and benefit and money coming as being a broker owner, I'm skipping that part of the real estate journey, and I just don't want to do it. And it sounds like you've already had a taste of it. Like, I'm done.
It's not worth it. It's not
So
worth it. If that's your thing. It just wasn't my thing too. Like I don't enjoy talking to lawyers. Like
yeah,
I want to operate. I want to motivate. I want to be a part of my agents and my clients' lives, and I don't need the headache of the back end.
yeah,
And all of this NAR stuff, it's another thing. I know broker owners who are afraid because they're going to get pulled into, the NAR settlement for 2024 and be buried in legal fees. It's like the only
yeah.
people that won from that are the lawyers, right? So,
Oh yeah.
it's just not, it's not for me. I like where I'm at. I love where I'm at. And I think most team leaders would if they're in the right brokerage.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, man, obviously I appreciate you having me on.
Sure.
Hopefully, some
Oh,
people take something from this.
we're gonna do a part 2 because we're gonna be
Mhm.
on the other side of a we'll be at the latter half of 26, and I think our company is going to look a lot different. Like I said, Real just this morning, Real announced that they are purchasing Remax. We have to jump onto a town hall call to find out exactly what that means
Mhm.
and whether that's a good thing. But we'll now, once we get back on, we'll have some months here to understand exactly what is in store for both these companies. So, but I do appreciate you hopping on,
For sure.
and we'll keep at it.
Awesome, Seth. Thanks, man.
Yep. See ya.
All right, that's a wrap. Thanks for hanging out with us today. If this was your first time listening, head over to Instagram and check out more content and interviews at Make Your Own Key. There's plenty more waiting for you there. And if you got value from this episode, make sure to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs to hear it. Remember, success in this business is up to you. Your key, your move. We'll see you next time.